Hi, this is Roger. This is a quick garden update, so those not interested don't need to watch. I've been moving stuff around. My cymbidiums are here, and that's not good enough. They need to go over there so that they get this late afternoon sun, which is what it is now, late afternoon. Now, this area here gets a lot of sun, but these are gravel beds. I can't really plant anything any sense in there because there's no soil, there's no depth. So Carol's given me a new list of plants, and a lot of which I would really like to have, but I've got nowhere to put them. These gravel beds are not mine to play with, really. Now, I have managed to plant some things on the edges, as I've shown you before. Now, these little clumps of geraniums have started to root now, so unless they're in heavy sun without any water, they're actually not drooping anymore. So there is possibilities to plant some things, preferably around the edges where they don't get full sun. This area here gets an awful lot of sun. Now, we've got to sort of work on this. This laurel is looking, well, first of all, let's do the wisteria. Come on, look at that. Absolutely, and the fragrance is stunning. But that's growing green and spreading, so's that. So we will have green along here. But there's no reason why we can't have something else coming up the fence apart from that. That's for the future. The buddleias are starting to push their long growths now. This is not a buddleia, this is a foxglove that just happened to hitch a ride in that tub, but this is the growth we need on the buddleias. This is what will push out the blooms later. This. So they're starting to do it, which is good. Bonsai stuff, not for now. The geum is looking good. The other day I came out and it had all flopped over in the wind, so I've had to put stakes on the stems. Which is a nuisance. But the blooms are looking good. These are beautiful red. Up here we've got these things. That's not really why I'm out here. Somebody thought I was a spoil sport putting the catmint up on the table, but Mojo was ruining the plant. Now what about this then? These pieces here Mojo broke off, and I just stuck them back in the pot, and they look like they're going to grow. That's pretty good stuff. But I've got so little planting area. If I had a bit of a clear out along here, I'd have a little bit there which is semi-shade, because obviously because of the angle of the sun, it only gets very late in the day's sun, so I could get a few more things in there. But the problem is a lot of the things that Carol has listed. Oh, you notice the weeds are dying, so that weed killer stuff that I put on is working. Until I get these gravel beds free of weeds, I'm not prepared to put anything in them, if you see what I mean, because they you know, it's just not going to work. Right, what else? The roses have got buds on, or this one has, I'm not sure about the other one. The Californian lilac is looking absolutely stunning now. This is my friendly blackbird, who takes hardly any notice of me at all. He's quite happy to sit on the bird feeder when I'm quite close. Lovely bird. Oh, I must get that water in there cleaned out. But it's just almost fearless. I don't know how close it would let me get, but that's the bird that sings all the time. There aren't many wild birds. I'm now less than 2 meters. Yeah, finally quit. Right, bonsai, various things. But I want my cymbidiums here so that they get this late afternoon sun. But this is my only real planting area. Now, my plan, see what I mean? He's just gone straight up in the tree and started to sing. Beautiful song, blackbirds. This is really my only planting area. This is rich soil. because it gets all the leaves off that oak tree that rot down in here. It's almost like potting compost in here, but it does get some sun. Not all day sun, but it gets some sun. But in amongst here are shady spots by the things that are already there. Now what I'm proposing to do is remove some of the stuff in here to take some more plants from Carol, like this. This is rubbish stuff. It's ground cover stuff that is just nondescript. So all of this could be taken out, and that would clear me a nice patch here that would get afternoon sun. I mean, a lot of the things I planted from Carol are dying back because they're early spring. You know, that little sort of floppy bit there, that's bluebells. They'll come again next year. But the foxglove's growing okay. The fuchsia's coming on nicely here. Yeah. This needs coming out. That's a sycamore. Otherwise that'll be 8 foot tall in a year. Again, bluebells dying back now. But there's areas here that are semi-dappled shade. The problem I've got with a lot of the stuff that Carol's put on the list is it's full sun, but it's not going to grow in the gravel beds. So I can clear some areas here to put stuff that will get afternoon sun in mid-season. Early spring it doesn't get any sun here, it's shaded by the house. So, you know, there's only so many things on Carol's list that I can take. What I'm also proposing to do is this area here, which is cluttered. There's a pot there, you can probably see it. And I've been given a name for this stuff with the pretty pink flowers. Apparently it spits seeds all over the place and seeds everywhere. But this rose I want to keep. This bush here, I think, can be cut down to the ground. And that clears a little bit of an area out here. Because it's the same as this, but this is a mature bush that flowers. That's not. Yeah, so I think we could do without that one. That would give me a bit more area here. And then when we get round to here, this is the limit of the sun. This is as far round here as it gets. Now, if the area, this bush here, if the lower branches were taken off, it's more planting area. This bush here I want, because when I look in this direction I don't want to see that manky alleyway, so I've allowed this to come out, but there's no reason why the lower section can't come off, and that will give me, you know, this area here would become a planting area, shady, yeah, and then round here we've still got a little bit. I've been doing a bit of weeding round here, that's the dead stuff. But that's what I'm limited with. I'm limited to how much growing space I've got. I mean, with a ridiculous amount of work, if I took all the ivy out of here, I would have a bed to grow in. And over there, if I took all the ivy out, I'd have somewhere to grow in. It's too much effort for somebody else's garden, if you see what I mean. So, and also the ivy looks quite nice. And there are things that grow up through it. You know, I mean, it's just coming out now. This wasn't obvious earlier in the year. This geranium here that comes up through the ivy has absolutely stunning flowers on it. But that dies back in the winter. You can't even see the leaves. So that's yet to come. I mean, we've got oak trees coming out all over the place. They'll all have to come out. We can't leave them to grow on, can we? But anyway, looking forward to the roses coming out on here. And I think, yes, we've got loads of buds on this rose as well. So we've got roses to come quite soon. We've got certain trees in areas that need to come off at ground level to stop them growing. And that includes this one here. I think that's an alder. But we don't want an alder tree growing up the front of a bed. So that's got to go. And just as a matter of interest, all those who thought the wisteria was dead and I'd killed it, well, far from it. Look at it. It will come a time, if you look there, that's the sort of runner that will get up in the hedge and go up in the tree. Those are the ones that are going to be clipped off. Now what I might do, I don't know whether I can do this or not, I'd like to, is this big thick piece here is not going anywhere. That's a solid piece of timber. Up there is a tree trunk. If I put a hook in that tree trunk, I could run a cord or a wire from that tree to here, and then these wisteria runners that come out could be trained along the fence, and anything that starts growing up above the fence just comes off. That way we would have these lovely wisteria, this gorgeous foliage along that fence instead of looking at the fence. That is an idea that I might work on, because I'm not allowing this wisteria to go above the fence. That was a lot of work trying to get that down again, and it's starting to shoot out. And do you know, I do believe that I think is a bloom. This wisteria grew throughout this entire hedge here and right up into the top of that tree, and not one bloom. So I don't even know what the blooms on this one look like. And it was because of the way it hadn't been pruned. I was going to say the way it had been pruned, but it was the fact that it hadn't. It had been let to go rampant. But yeah, it's alive and needs to be kept under control, so we'll deal with that. But I think with a bit of shuffling around, this is my only real planting area. This end gets more sun than this end, but it doesn't get all day sun. So things that need full sun are probably not going to do as well as they should do here. And also you're looking at quite a rich soil. So those things that like the impoverished soil and stuff like that, I might try some of those round the edge of the gravel bed. But until I get rid of the weeds, we're not doing that. So there we go, a sort of update on what's going on in the garden. And well, it's an orchid channel, isn't it? This is my native orchid. The main tubers have died, they've rotted, but I've got two little seedlings that are growing on, and hopefully they'll make it. That is a type of marsh orchid. It's a leopard marsh orchid, leopard being the markings on the leaves. So that's my only native orchid. So there we go, that's a sort of look round as to my thoughts. What I really need to do is get the rest of my bonsai staging sorted out so that I can get some proper staging rather than perching stuff on chairs. And you know, these tables are okay, but they'd look better with a single plant on them. Oh, one for Gail. I don't know whether you should be able to see it, even though there's a blue butterfly. That's a holly blue. I can't zoom in on it unless it lands. It's landed. Whether I can zoom in on that, I don't know. See, I've lost sight of it completely now, so I don't know whether I'm actually zooming in on it or not. I've got a flipping clue what I'm looking at. Anyway, somewhere in that shot is a holly blue. Ah, gotcha. That's my maximum zoom. There we go. So yeah, one for Gail, a blue butterfly. Holly blue is the blues that are around this time of year, and I get quite a lot of those in the garden. And earlier today we had an orange tip and two brimstones, so 3 different types. They're getting about, but there's not enough colour that suits them in the garden to hold them here. The holly blue is attracted to foliage rather than blooms. So anyway, that's a look round and some thoughts about what I can do. Because what I'd like to do is I'd like to turn this into something special, because it's the only bit of planting ground I've got, and at the moment it's not special. Now next year in the spring it will be quite special, because we'll have the fritillaries, the bluebells, the snowdrops, the primroses. we'll have quite a, and those things at the end. We'll have all that, but there's a bit too much shrubbery in here at the moment, so my plan is to sort this lot out so that I can plant some more stuff in it, and it will be stuff that likes some sun up this end, stuff that likes dappled shade behind the shrubs, and stuff that likes the shade can only go up that end. And we'll see what we can do, but it's really nice of Carol to offer the list. I've looked all of them up. There's a big long list of plants, many of which I've never heard of, but when I looked them up, I knew the blooms, but I just didn't know the name. So we will be getting another box of plants to plant out, and you know the item that was on that list that's not a blooming plant, that's probably so special for me because it's one of my favourite plants? Ferns. Now I don't know what sort, but I love ferns. I absolutely adore the green and the way they come out and unfurl. So hopefully in the next lot we'll get some ferns. And ferns can take some sun as long as they're not in sun in dry soil all day long. So we should be able to get some of those, and the larger ones can get up the back there. We'll see what we can do, but I'm determined to have this garden attractive but not formal. I want it a little bit informal. I don't want it structured. I don't want rows of plants and things like that. And native plants are just ideal, you know. So there we go. I sort of look round at some thoughts of things to come. And those that aren't interested in the garden and only interested in orchids, then this is not for you. But I do separate them out. They are telegraphed at the beginning. This is a garden video, not an orchid video, not a bonsai video and all that sort of stuff. So 3 elements to my channel really now. The bonsai stuff is in a separate channel because people were moaning about that, the orchid people. The orchids are there, and the garden, you know, is another thing, an add-on. So that's where we are, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by. And this is something I've been hoping for, is Mojo to be able to relax in the garden without me being out here, and just settle down and sun himself. That's what he used to do, and hopefully he'll start doing it again. But recently he's been reluctant to come out. But I came out with him, and this is what we want. To feel comfortable in the garden and sit down in the sun and have a snooze. Good stuff.